On behalf of Mayor Brandon Johnson, Commissioner Reed, and the entire team here at Chicago Department of Aviation, it is my pleasure to welcome you all to the Concessions 101 workshop. I am Russell Johnson, Assistant Commissioner of Concessions with the Chicago Department of Aviation. We are eager to provide the passengers with a world-class concessions program at both O'Hare and Midway Airport by providing ultimate experiences for both domestic and international passengers. We at CDA always strive to be innovators at the airport ecosystem as we go out to bring the very best in concessions offerings to our world-class airports. From our restaurants and shops, right up to the gates, our airports create the first and lasting impression of our great city. We remain dedicated to bringing opportunities to our residents. We are committed to promoting equality, inclusion with all of our concessions contracts by focusing on diversity, and we are working diligently to bring new ideas, new owners, and operators into the fold. I want to let my team shine a little bit, so I'm going to leave that right there. You'll be hearing from our rock star concessions team, including project administrators Mark Wright, Daniel Perez, Davin Boyd, and Mary Gallagher. We also have with us Lisa Cameron, compliance manager with Unison Consulting Group. They put together an amazing presentation for you. At the end, we will have time for Q&A, so please don't hesitate to ask questions. Thank you again for your interest in operating at O'Hare and Midway International Airport. And with that, I will go through the agenda. Today, we're going to talk about operations at O'Hare, the concessions programs at O'Hare, operations at Midway, the concessions program at Midway, followed by process to operate a concession, and then finally, elements of the proposal or RFP and the resources that can help you get all that done. At this point, we'll turn it over to Daniel Perez.
Thank you, Russell. My name is Daniel Perez, Projects Administrator with the CDA, and I will give you a look at our operations at O'Hare. Here we have a snapshot of passenger and operations. I'm looking at 12 months ending in September 2027 or 2023, I should say, not there yet. There were over 72.8 million passengers that traveled through O'Hare. Passenger enplanements were up 8.3 from 2022 and down 13.7 from 2019. Also, there are 222 active gates at O'Hare, and also an interesting trend worth noting, over 51% of passengers in O'Hare have connecting flights and never leave the terminals, which is a pretty great captive audience. O'Hare is served by nearly 50 of the world's leading airlines, and it is a major intra-alliance connecting gateway. These airlines include United Airlines with their Star Alliance partners, American Airlines with One World partners, and Delta Airlines, along with the rest of the Sky team. O'Hare also has multiple non-aligned airlines, as you can see at the bottom of the screen. This includes Aer Lingus, JetBlue, Spirit, Frontier, and Volaris, which actually about 2 years ago announced their new service to Guatemala City with continuing service to San Salvador. Now to take a look at each terminal, starting with Terminal 1. Terminal 1 has 2 concourses, B and C, and they're connected by a very colorful neon lit underground tunnel. In 2022, there were 12.2 million enplanements. Major carriers in Terminal 1 are the Star Alliance partners, United, Lufthansa, and ANA. Terminal 2, we have 2 concourses, E and F. In 2022, there were 5.2 million enplanements. Major carriers include Air Canada, Alaska Airlines, JetBlue, and United Express. Terminal 3 has 4 concourses, which are G, H, K, and L. In 2022, Terminal 3 had 12.8 million enplanements. Some other major carriers include American Airlines, American Eagle, Cape Air, Air Denver, Iberia Airlines, Japan Airlines, and Spirit Airlines. T5 is home to Concourse M and a number of international and domestic carriers. In 2022, T5 had 3.9 million enplanements. Some of our carriers in Terminal 5 include Delta, Aer Lingus, Aeromexico, Air France, Air India, Emirates, Korean Air, Southwest, and the list really goes on. And now with that, I'll pass it back over to Assistant Commissioner Russell Johnson to touch on O'Hare's concessions program.
Thank you, Daniel. So our program is divided into 6 categories or 6 segments. We have food and beverage, specialty retail, news and gifts, duty-free, services, and indoor and outdoor advertising. What you see on the slide before you go through some of the financials of the last 3 years. What you will notice is that 2019 numbers represent what happened in O'Hare Airport before the pandemic. Of course, 2021 and 2022 years are rebuilding years, as long as 2023, after the pandemic, and we continue to welcome the flying public back to our airports. If you'll notice in this slide, all the categories I mentioned, the number of stores are mentioned in each category, and the number of square foot established for each category. Let's talk about specifically what the average concessions looks like. Let's start with food and beverage. The average food and beverage location at O'Hare Airport has about 950 square feet, with an average sales amount of 2.4 million. If we break that down a little further into deeper categories, coffee services have averaged about 539 square feet with $1.5 million in sales. Quick service has about 723 square feet, about $2.8 million in sales. Casual dining has about 3,400 square feet with $5.8 million in sales annually. And then walkaways, about 383 square feet with 1.2 million in sales. Let's also look at the retail side of the equation. Our average retail location is about 488 square feet with $1.3 million in annual sales. If we look at the specific categories in retail, news and convenience, about 674 square feet as average with $2.1 million or $2.2 million in sales annually. And then specialty retail, about 364 square feet with about $700,000 in sales annually. As we look at Terminal 1, there are many brands here, some of which you may know: Dunkin', Eli's Cheesecake, Garrett's, McDonald's, and Nuts on Clark. As we go on to Terminal 2, we have brands like Auntie Anne, Hudson News, Mac, Coach, Summer House, and Sarah's Candy. If we go on to Terminal 3, we have Cub's Bar and Grill, Publican, and Shoe Repair, and Starbucks. Terminal 4, Big Bowl, Burger King, Brookstones, Nuts on Clark, and RJ Grunts. And now we'll turn it back over to Mark Wright to talk a little bit about operations at Midway Airport.
Thank you, Russell. Good afternoon to everyone. I'll talk to you a little bit today about operations at Midway. Next slide. Midway International Airport is a leading airport for point-to-point air service in the United States. As of November 2023, Midway has approximately 225 daily direct flights scheduled to 78 U.S. destinations and 9 daily direct flights to 11 international destinations. The top destinations from Chicago include Denver, Phoenix, Atlanta, and Las Vegas. And Southwest Airlines represents 90% of the capacity here at Midway. During the 12-month period of September 2022 to September 2023, approximately 21.9 million passengers traveled through Midway Airport. Passenger enplanements were up 15.7% from 2022 and up 4.2% from 2019. Travel continues to increase in 2023, and this data shows that we've surpassed the 2019 pre-COVID level and still on the rise. 44% of Midway passengers have connecting flights and they never leave the airport. There are 43 active gates here at Midway as well. In terms of airlines here at Midway, there are 7 commercial airlines. The biggest names include, of course, Southwest, which I stated before is 90% of capacity, and other big names include Delta, Frontier, and Volaris. The Midway Modernization Program is a $333 million program and the first terminal investment at Midway in nearly 2 decades. The Passenger Security Checkpoint Expansion Project, which was completed in 2020, took the bridge over Cicero Avenue from about 50 feet to about 400 feet, which then increased the queuing area to 80,000 square feet. The Terminal Parking Garage Enhancement Project modernized elevators, added electrical vehicle charging stations, and made improvements to the exit plaza in the garage. The Concessions Redevelopment Program, which is still in development, was designed to offer passengers new and improved choices for shopping and dining services and amenities. Next, I will talk briefly about the concessions program here at Midway. The Midway Concessions Redevelopment Program features iconic Chicago establishments and brands, as well as nationally recognized products and services. Midway Partnership was selected as the developer or operator for the program and is investing $75 million to renovate and expand the food and beverage offerings, news and gifts, specialty retail, personal services, and other public amenities located here at Midway. The redevelopment will include an increase from 44,000 to over 70,000 square feet, and the number of concessions will approximately increase from 47 to 70. Presently, there have been 46 new concession units constructed, and we just completed our 4th of 5 phases of construction in our central market area with new retail locations, Evolve, which is the largest Evolve in the US at over 6,000 square feet, Mac, Toomey, and Joe Malone, as well as we opened our Central Market food court, which includes White Sox Bar and Grill, Dunkin', M-Burger, Beecher's Handmade Cheese, Connie's Pizza, and America's Dog and Burger. This next slide is a Midway's concessions performance by category, the same type of categories that Assistant Commissioner Russell Johnson spoke about with O'Hare. Here you can see sales performance and square footage for Midway for each category of food and beverage, news and gifts, specialty retail, services, and indoor advertising. Starting from 2019 pre-COVID, you can see in all categories what sales were and then the decline during COVID in 2021. However, sales in 2022 increased 15.7%, as I said earlier, and presently we're up to 4.2% from 2019. This next slide is a terminal map that shows the 39 new locations, which includes 28 new brands to Midway. After completing the Central Market food and beverage and retail locations, we started a new construction project a couple of weeks ago in B Concourse with construction of a RJ Grunts, which we plan to open in March of 2024. And this next slide, we have a couple pictures here of some of the food and beverage locations in our new Central Market, which shows the White Sox Bar and Grill, the Beecher's Handmade Cheese, the Riley's Daughters Bar, Connie's Pizza, and America's Dog and Burger. Then we have the retail locations of Mac, Toomey, and Joe Malone. And also we opened a second Garrett's Popcorn at B14, just a couple of the concessions to name a few. I will now hand it over to Projects Administrator Davin Boyd, who will present information on a process to operate a concession.
Good afternoon, all. My name is Davin Boyd. I am the Projects Administrator for the Chicago Department of Aviation, and I will be explaining to you the process to operate a concession here at both airports. Companies have several ways to operate as a concessionaire. The first option you have is you can operate as a single operator. This is where you lease space directly from the airport. The second option is called a joint venture. This is where a company forms a partnership with another company to lease and operate a concession. The last option is you would operate as a subtenant. Your company leases from a larger concessionaire and operates as their subtenant. This next slide identifies the steps it takes to become a concessionaire. First, the CDA identifies a location available for lease. Next, CDA will issue a request for proposal, also known as an RFP. After that, respondents prepare and properly submit their proposals. After that, the CDA will evaluate the responses submitted and select a concessionaire from the group. Then the selected concessionaire and CDA will finalize the lease agreement together. CDA must obtain approval from City Council. Once it's approved, the concessionaire will submit construction plans that comply with CDA's construction and design standards for review and approval by CDA's construction and design team. Once given approval from the CDA, the concessionaire can begin construction, file for all required permits, pass all city inspections, and then open for business at the airport. The next slide, the next step is you would need to determine how you would operate. The first option is you can operate under a franchise agreement with companies like McDonald's or Dunkin' Donuts. The next option is you can enter into a lease license agreement with brands like Frontier Grill, Harry Carey's, or Republican. Next, you can operate as a regional or a local brand where you can bring a neighborhood favorite like Billy Goat Tavern, Nuts on Clark, or Berghoff here to the airport. Lastly, you can operate as your own unique airport concept that exists only at the airport, like our Ice Bar and Grill or the Chicago Cubs Bar and Grill. The goals of the concession program are to optimize revenues at the airports and within the local economy, maximize ACDBE participation, provide opportunities for local brands and local operators, provide high-quality products and services, promote high-quality facility designs and promote environmental sustainability, increase the variety of offerings at the airport, showcase the Chicago character to the traveling public, and last but not least, provide first-class customer service and to provide fair pricing to the traveling public along with employees working at the airport. Things you need to consider when operating at the airports. You need to determine your hours of operation and how to schedule your team of employees properly for adequate coverage. You must be prepared to properly follow all of the badging and security requirements at the airport. You need to consider how will your employees beginning to work so you can have a stable workforce. Will they be using public transportation or using one of our employee lots? Are these the costs that you expect them to absorb, or will you reimburse them? You need to think through the logistics to have the most efficient way to have your goods delivered in store. And lastly, the most effective process to have your waste and recyclables removed. And now I will pass it on to Lisa Cameron from Unison Retail Management.
Thanks, Davon. Okay, once a RFP has been released, you will be requested to follow this outline for your response. You'll provide a cover letter. You'll have to provide your experience and qualifications, your methods of management and operations, how you intend to operate your location. The development part will include store concept and design, the compensation to the city, projected sales, and your financing plan for your capital investment. Also included is the Airport Concessions Disadvantaged Enterprise Participation Plan. Currently, we're running at 32%. And that is a huge piece to the response. You'll also be required to provide professional references if you have any exceptions to the request from all the sections that, you know, if you didn't want to, you know, do a certain piece, then you put your exceptions there. You have to execute it. You have to have your business information statement, which gives an outline of who exactly is in the partnership, and your financial statements. Thanks. The RFP will also request you to provide 3 years experience in a proposed business, your comparable sales in an existing business, and you also have to show your financial capacity. And also, like I mentioned, the ACDBE participation plan, which is counted at a very high rate. Next, please, Daniel. Thanks. Elements of compensation. Your rent and fees will include your base annual rent, which is currently at $50 per square foot, which escalates 3% annually. The license fee, you have it's an either or type of situation. You have your proposed percentage of sales or the minimum annual guarantee, also known as MAG. And I'll explain that further in the next slides. Your marketing fee is 0.5% of your gross annual sales, and the central distribution fee, which it will be 1 to 2%, but we at this time do not have a distribution center, so that is to be determined down the line. As you'll see in the following slides, the city may set a range for percentage of sales or MAG in the RFP. Here is the outline of how we are currently looking at term and the proposed percentage rent. As you see, full service bar and restaurant, because that is a larger install, we're currently using a 10-year term with a proposed percentage rent of 12 to 15. And it goes down from there. QSR, which is fast food, quick service, 14 to 17%, coffee 7 to 10, with up to 18% percentage rent, snack, and it goes down from there when you get to the next page, please. All the way down to automated retail, which we only do a 5-year term and have an expected percentage rent of 10 to 12%. Next, please. Okay, here's the MAG versus percentage rent. So if the concessionaire proposes to pay the greater of $100,000, which is your MAG floor, or 15% of sales. So if your sales are $800,000 per annum, that's 800,000 times 15% equals $120,000, and you would pay $120,000. However, if your annual sales are only $500,000, at 15% equals $75,000, your floor is still $100,000, and that is what you will pay, the $100,000. Next, please. More considerations when determining compensation to the city. So you saw that your average term is 5 to 10 years, so you have to amortize your costs over that period. You will also be required to pay your Cook County leasehold tax. Your utilities are individually metered. Your security deposit is 6 months of your MAG. So if your MAG is $100,000, you're required to give a security deposit of $50,000, and that would be a letter of credit or a cashier's check. Historical concession build-out expense. Yes, it is actually up to $1,500 to $2,500 per square foot for our current build-out. Next, please. Value pricing. Part of what we monitor is a value pricing annually. The concessionaire is required to provide us with their prices. We have a certain number of comparables that they have to set up for the central business district, and they cannot be any higher than an average of 3 at this point from downtown Chicago, just so that, you know, we're staying competitive with the city and we're not overcharging our passengers. We also have a sustainability component, and that's currently being revised. And we have a green concessions where the concessionaires are required to have certain, just, you know, environmentally friendly cutlery and packaging and everything. So that's always changing, and we're always trying to expand that program. Next, please. ACDBE, that is Airport Concessions Disadvantaged Business Enterprise, and those businesses are required to be 51% owned by a socially and economically disadvantaged individual. The management and daily operations of the firm are also controlled by the socially and economic disadvantaged individual who own the company. Next, ACDBE program. We are subject to federal regulations, and the FAA does, you know, we report to them annually our goal and our actual participation. And each RFP that is released does have a goal attached to it. As Davron also said, the goal can be fulfilled by direct ownership, which is 100%, say in ACDBE, a joint venture partner with a large concessionaire, and you can either joint venture or subcontract to an ACDBE, or the purchase of goods and services. Say you run a tea shop and you can get your goods and services through an ACDBE certified vendor. The ACDBE section of an RFP is a pass or fail. If you do not meet the ACDBE requirements, you will not be selected. You will not be asked to join. The respondent must either satisfy the goal or show good faith efforts why it cannot be satisfied. Next, please. ACDBE certification, you can find the certification, everything is done online these days. So chicago.mwdbe.com, that is the Department of Procurement Services. If you're looking for a certified vendor or an ACDBE, it's also on the same website. And the Illinois Department of Transportation also has the Illinois UCP, which gives you a list of all the MWDBEs, ACDBEs that are certified by the 5 certifying agencies in the state of Illinois. And that is, let's see, next, I think I have one more slide. Okay. The best advice we can give you is to sign up for the Fly Chicago web alerts. That will give you, that's where we post all of our RFP information. That's where everything is, when you sign up for that, you will get all RFPs, everything that is going on with the airport. Proposals are typically due within 90 days after posting. This time is variable, and be aware of the due date and time. Any RFP responses that come in after that time are disqualified. Pre-proposal meetings will take place shortly after the RFP posting. We do a lot of meetings and make sure that everybody's questions are answered. So, you know, never fear that we're not here. We're always here to help. Your questions must be submitted in writing, and answers will be provided also on the Fly Chicago website in the addenda to any, you know, we usually have a couple addenda to the RFP. And with that, I will turn it over to Mary Gallagher, who will give you more information on resources.
Thanks, Lisa. Thank you for all of you. Those were a lot of information just thrown at you, audience. I understand. So I'm passing the next item on our agenda is to provide resources for you to provide us with a great proposal. The first category are industry resources. The Airport Minority Advisory Council, national organization, will help you find direct ownerships, joint ventures, or subtent opportunities. The Airport Experience News, that's a journal that comes to you through the internet, and please sign up for it. It keeps you abreast of what's happening not only in our airport, but the other ones across the US market. The last is the ACI, and this is our national organization that helps us learn what's going on around the world in concessions and airport services. Back home in Chicago, anything you need, you can find at thecityofchicago.com. And through there, you can find our purchasing department, which lists all of these bids, opportunities, where to go to sign up for things. The next resource that I'm giving you is the biggest one. As Lisa told you, sign up for flychicago.com. Through that, you're going to be notified about all the bid advertisements, any changes in the RFPs, when there's conferences, upcoming concessionaire workshops, symposiums, other events. The last thing I'm going to say is use us. Use the speakers who are speaking today. They are the experts. They will be able to get you to the right organization for what you need. ACDBE, as Lisa and Deb and everyone told you, very important. I would start looking at that right now before the proposals come out. And with that, I am passing it back to our Assistant Commissioner, Russell Johnson.
All right, BACP, we are ready for questions. So what is an ACDBE business? Since I'll have an expert of Lisa Cameron online, Lisa, if you wouldn't mind taking that one?
Sure, that is our minority participant. That's an FAA requirement that if you receive federal funds, you are required to have minority participation in your concessions program. So in order to participate and become an ACDBE, there are certain requirements that if you go to the Department of Procurement Services website, you can sign up to, find out all the rules and regulations for becoming an ACDBE. And that the program also allows you to either come in as a 100% owned ACDBE, or you can joint venture or become a goods and services provider for other concessionaires. You must be the company must be 51% socially and economically disadvantaged. Your usual, you have the African American, you have Hispanic, non-minority female. Those are all Asian Pacific and Asian Indian. Those are all socially and economically disadvantaged groups as referenced by the FAA. So if you go to the Department of Procurement Services website, and you Google, as Mary has on her sheet, the DPS website, and you can start your certification. It usually takes 60 to 90 days to become certified if you qualify. And the department does do a deep dive into your finances. You have to give them all your company information, but if it is a great program, and if you can become certified, please do. We need to, we're always looking for new participants, and we really encourage you to go down that path. Thank you.
Okay, Stella, we don't see any more questions. Is there anything else you see on your end?
Did you go in a Q&A box?
Yes.
A question just popped up.
Okay.
Oh, so Tracy, she had a question on the turnaround time, that it's running about 90 days. And if you're a beginner business, you do have to have 3 years experience, because working at the having a concessions at the airport is not like a street side concession. You have space restraints, and you have to prove to the city that you have the financial capacity to run a business at the airport. So if you are a beginner, that would be like a great place for you to start, would maybe be with a prime partner. I hope that answers the question.
Does an RFP completely outline clearly what spaces are available? The second part, what percentage of space goes to the master concessionaire? So all locations are completely outlined. Everything you need, including utility information, the square footage, past performance, and a similar size concession. All that is in the RFP, including everything you need to make a bid and prove that you can run that section. And no, there is no set aside for master concessionaire. There are different size packages. There's some people with smaller financial abilities may not be able to bid on. And then there are larger and smaller opportunities. There will be something in the RFP for everyone. So there are different types of opportunities for different types of businesses, including masters and individuals who want to operate a business at our airports. How do you get in contact with prime concessionaires? So we recently did a very, very good thing. We put on a symposium where we had you to meet the primes at UIC about 2 weeks ago. And I would say the best way right now is to get on our web alerts and pay attention for upcoming events.
Something just popped up. 2 things just came in the chat box. Can you explain the difference in cost procedures for getting a vending machine or being inside of a vending machine versus an actual stand?
So vending machines also, the same process, is based on an RFP. So our current vending program, we put an RFP out 2+ years ago, and we gave 8 businesses the opportunity to bring in over 140 vending machines into the airport. We also have a separate program at Midway where we bring vending machines in, but it all still starts with the RFP. There's still an ACDBE component of the RFP for vending that requires a minority participation. So the same process applies. Everything you need to know about the location, the type of vending opportunities we have would be in that RFP. And you can gain all that information by signing up for our web alerts at www.flychicago.com. Is the rent the same for vending? So the rent is based on anything else is based on a percentage of sales. So you propose to us based on what we put in the RFP and the percentage of sales we're looking for, what you're willing to pay the city of Chicago and still be profitable in our airports for your service. What else we got? Do you have? Okay.
Vending machine owner?
So, like with everything, there is a minimum requirement of service. So you have to have run a business. You have to have a business to operate in here. One of the things that we pride ourselves on is opportunities for people who are ready to be in the airport. So you have to show us that you have the skills, the wherewithal, and the financial ability to make it in the airport environment. So having a minimal experience is required for every RFP we put out, including vending.
Doesn't look like it. I'm just going back and forth between. I think as you were answering those questions.
Yeah, there's one more I see in the end, and it said Matt missed it. Will we be releasing the RFP soon? And the answer to that is yes. Date hasn't been finalized, but I would look something in the first quarter of 2024.
Okay, Maria, you got your answer for the certification for ACDBE, right? When, let's see, Mary on, I think it's the previous page. Can you go back a page, Russell or Daniel? To show the DPS website? No, it's one more, right here. Department of Purchasing, that is where you go to fill out paperwork to become ACDBE certified. And you can also become M&WBE certified through that website also. So I hope that answers your question.
We still have a little time left, so if you have questions, please submit them to the chat box.
For participation, the standard and the FAA policy is under ACDBE. You have to be certified as an ACDBE qualified minority business. I think Lisa explained that, and there's some resources mentioned about how you become ACDBE certified. But that's how the best way, if you're a minority business and you want to participate, is to become ACDBE certified. And the slide in front of you give you some great sources to start that process, including our DPS site. And I would suggest you go ahead to those sites and start investigating how you can become certified. Again, as Lisa said, it takes about 90 days for that process to finish. So the earlier you start, the better you are. And this is a key point. If you are not certified at the time you submit your bid will not be accepted.
It looks like they're done. They're saying.
Part of that,
for the
only brand
information.
they said they saw was a minority was Reggio's, and that's not true. There are, I think, at O'Hare with 34% ACDBE, which is one of the largest in the country. At Midway, we're 50-some% ACDBE, which is the largest in the country. So there are many minorities involved, not necessarily as the name brand, but the brands they bring into the airport. The owners of the business in the airport are minorities. And the brands may differ. They could be licensed brands, they could be self-brand, or they could be a brand they made it themselves. But there are many, and we encourage many minorities to participate.
Right, we're currently at 30, I think it's 35.6% at O'Hare and over 55 at Midway. So we do have a robust minority program here, and they're, like Russell said, not necessarily minority brand, but we have a lot of minority participation in all of the categories. So get certified. That's our recommendation.
Okay, Stella, if there's no more questions, we would like to thank everybody for their time. We hope and pray that this information reaches you and is something you can use if you have interest in doing concessions at O'Hare or Midway. And I want to make a preference in closing. The size of your opportunity is not the most important. It's what you bring, quality of service, quality of products, And can you financially support your business here at the airport? Those are the things we're looking for. So don't think because you're not a big business, we're not interested. We're always interested. There are many, many opportunities coming up in this next RFP. I suggest you take the time to look through it and get some help. This is not an RFP where you can sit down at your kitchen table and look at it and say, I'm gonna fill this out. You need professional help, accounting, tax attorneys, and other specialists who can help you answer the questions. You must answer every question to the best of your ability if you expect to win a bid. So you can get certified in 2 areas, through the City of Chicago and through the Department of Transportation. That information is on this slide you see in front of you.
Thanks again to the Department of Aviation for today's presentation. If you are a part of the BACP Entrepreneur Certificate Program and would like to receive credit for your attendance today, please log on to chicago.gov/BACP certificate. Again, that's chicago.gov/BACP certificate. To learn more about our upcoming webinars, please visit us at chicago.gov/business education. Again, that's chicago.gov/business education. And thanks again to our colleagues at the Department of Aviation, and see you next time.